This Parshas Bamidbar, we started discussing it on Monday, but I would like to look at it a little bit from a different angle, from a deeper perspective, together with you right now. So the Sefer, like we mentioned on Monday, is called Sefer Bamidbar, but Chazal call it Sefer HaPkudim, the Sefer of Numbers. That's why the English names for the books are usually after the name that Chazal give the books. Like we said, Sefer Vayikra is called Torah's Kohanim, so in English we call it Leviticus because it's about the Levium, and Sefer Shmos is called Sefer HaGeula, so we call it Exodus, the coming out. Each one, Mishnah Torah is Sefer Dvarim, that's the Deuteronomy. It's always the names are English names come from Chazal. And the question really is, why is there such a focus on the counting? And in general, counting in Judaism is always a paradox. We have a mitzvah to count. Hashem says, you should count the Jewish people, but yeah, we know you're not allowed to count. You're not allowed to count. We even have different acronyms. Some say you make a bracha of Hamotzi Lechem min haaretz, and that adds up to number 10, right? We're not allowed to count 10 people. We're not allowed to count. And in the time of David HaMelech, they counted, and therefore a Magefa came. So we like to count, but yet we're not allowed to count. What's our relationship with counting? Do we want to count or do we not want to count? That's the first thing I want to understand. The second thing is, we're allowed to count. And we count in this week's Parsha Bamidbar, we count the entire Jewish people. And then we count again in Parshas Pinchas. So we have two countings of the Jewish people in Sefer Bamidbar. For that, we have to call it Sefer HaPkudim, the book of Numbers. And also, why is it important to count the Jewish people again? Rashi tells us, why do we count? So Rashi, right in the beginning, it says, Vaydaber Hashem b'midbar Sinai, Seu es rosh kol das v'tzar. If you look at Rashi right in the beginning, mitochi batan lefanav moneh otam kol shabbat. Rashi tells us, why does Hashem count? Why is it so important to count? Because Hashem loves us so much. Therefore, it's important to because Hashem loves us so much, that's why it's important to count the Jewish people. Thank you so much. I just got a message from Mrs. Herman, a reminder, and I really, really appreciate that. Mrs. Herman, one of our members, dedicated today's Shiur in the memory of her father, Ruvain ben Victor Meir. Additionally, we also have Rani Wachtel, also wanted to dedicate today's learning in the memory of his father, Yaakov ben Menachem, who has a yahrzeit today. So we have two yahrzeit today, and two of our members dedicated today's Shiur. I'm sorry for not mentioning it at the beginning of the Shiur, but we think both of them are outstanding members of our Kehillah. They both wanted to dedicate this Shiur Le'ilui Nishmas, and all of the learning and inspiration that we will get today should be Le'ilui Nishmas, Yaakov ben Menachem, Rani's father, and also Ruvain ben Victor Meir, which is also Mrs. Yehudit Herman's father. Okay, so it should be Le'ilui Nishmas, and if you want to dedicate any more Shiurim, please be in touch with Mark. We're definitely dedicating Shiurim. It's good. It's for a good cause. The learning is going to be Le'ilui Nishmas, and also the tzedakah is to help the shul. So a big yesher koach for both of them. So again, just to recap, because we are starting a new sefer, I want to understand what this sefer is all about. I want to be able to grow from this understanding as well, and to see how it's relevant for our lives. And oh boy, do I think this is so relevant for our lives. And we'll see how we're going to get to that in 1 second. So number one, why is it so important? And what's our relationship to counting? Do we like counting in Judaism or do we not? There seems to be a paradox. I know we're counting, it's called the book of counting of Numbers, but yet you're not allowed to count. So what's the relationship to counting? Number two, why is it so important to count? That this is now, the name of the book is the counting. There seems to be something very fundamental in the concept of counting the Jewish people. And Rashi tells us the reason why we're counting is because Hashem loves the Jewish people. And that's why the Ramban also tells us it's to show the chesed of Hashem for the Jewish people. Look at us. We came down to Mitzrayim, 70 people. We were just 70 people. And yet now we're coming out. We're 600,000 men over the age of 20. It's unbelievable, right? So just to see the chesed of Hashem. So sometimes you have to make it tangible. You have to actually get the numbers in, the fact. And you're like, whoa, this is amazing, the chesed of Hashem. So both Rashi and the Ramban are telling us it's to show how much Hashem loves us and that we should recognize the chesed of Hashem. Okay, but we already counted the Jewish people after Chet HaEgel. And that was to see how many are left. After there was a Magefa, some got killed, only a little bit got killed, but still, we counted after Chet HaEgel. Why is it important now to count again after we built the Mishkan? The counting of Sefer Bamidbar is after we build the Mishkan, and now starts the formation of the Jewish people. And therefore, it's important to count. So we see that the counting over here is different. We are counting the Jewish people, not just how many they are, but there's a counting over here which is connected to the order in which the Jewish people are traveling. For the first time, the first year, when the Jewish people left Mitzrayim, there was no order for their traveling. Each camp, each shevet had their own mini camp, but they weren't in any specific order. The counting of Sefer Bamidbar brings together two concepts in Judaism: counting the numbers and also the order, because now there's going to be the formation. Yehuda is going to be up on top, together with Yisachar and Zvulun. And then we're going to have Reuven on this side, and we're going to have Dan over here, right? There is a specific order, which already Yaakov Avinu told them how they're going to travel towards Eretz Yisrael. And that's how they traveled on their second step when they were bringing Yaakov into Eretz Yisrael. So that's how they traveled. It's actually the same exact thing. I don't know if we ever paid attention to it, but Yaakov tells Bnei Yisrael, his 12 children, how to carry him out of Mitzrayim. But when they left Mitzrayim, everyone carried him together, so to speak. There was no order. And then from Goren Atad till Eretz Yisrael, from that turning point, then they went in the specific formation. The same thing, when we left Mitzrayim, there was no specific order. And now, after Maimed Har Sinai, after we received the Torah, after we built the Mishkan, now the entire Jewish people are going in a very specific order towards Eretz Yisrael. So what is the significance of the order? And why is it important for us to be counted in order to stand in order? Can I make order without exactly knowing the number? There's something very, very deep, very fundamental, and I think it's so fundamental for our avoda, for our mission as the Jewish people. See, so we have to understand what's the significance of the order and of the flags. Because in this week's Parsha, not only were they put into different order, but each shevet had its flag. And the flag, the Medrash explains to us, has a very important significance. And that significance is something that intuitively we sort of understand. What does a flag actually represent? Did you ever think about it? Why do we have flags? Why is there an Israeli flag? Why is there an American flag, a British flag? And we sing the national anthem of whatever country it might be while we're raising the flag. There's a certain significance. Where did that come from? How did that get into the culture of the world that we have a flag? So Chazal explained to us that the concept of flags actually come from this week's Parsha. And the Medrash tells us that when did Bnei Yisrael, when were they exposed to the concept of flags? It was at Maimed Har Sinai. When we received the Torah, says the Medrash, B'sha'a shenigla kadosh baruch hu al Har Sinai, yardu imo chavbet revavot shel malachim. When Hashem appeared in front of the Jewish people at Har Sinai, there were 22,000, 100,000 of angels that came down together with him, and it says, Rechev Elokim ribotayim alfei shinan, vehayu kulam asuim dgalim degalim, sheneemar dagul mirvava. Dagul mirvava usach vayei. They saw that these angels that were coming down with HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Har Sinai, they all had flags. That's what it means, dagul mirvava. כיוון שראו אותם ישראל שהם עשויים דגלים דגלים, התחילו מתאבים לדגלים, אמרו הלוואי כך אנו נעשים דגלים כמותם. The Medrash explains to us, this is a Medrash in Bamidbar, Rabbi, Beis, Gimel, that Bnei Yisrael, when they stood at Har Sinai, they saw that the angels had flags. And then they desired to have flags themselves. There is something about the flags that they wanted, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if that's what they desire, I'm going to give it to them. Yemaleh Hashem kol mishalotecha. Miyad hodiah HaKadosh Baruch Hu otam liYisrael, ve'amar leMoshe, lech aseh otam dgalim kemo shenitavu. The Medrash concludes that Hashem saw that we wanted it, And therefore he told Moshe, go teach them the flags. Turn them into different segments of flags. Now, what does that mean? See, a flag always represents the honor and the glory of the kingship, the glory of the king. And the source of that comes from this parsha. A king comes in, you see it in all the movies, you still see it. You come in, there's all the horsemen with the flags, a lot of flags. You go to the UN, every country, every nationality has a flag. When the president speaks, behind him is the American flag. When the prime minister speaks, behind him is the Israeli flag or the British flag, because it represents the royalty. It represents the wholesomeness of the entire kingdom. The source of that is this week's parsha. Bnei Israel, when they saw that at Har Sinai, they said, we want to be the people who could carry the flags of Hashem. That when people see our shevet, they see our entire camp, they're like, oh, this is the people of God, the people of Hashem, and look at the flags that they are carrying. It must mean that Hashem is coming over here, bediglo alay hava, dagul mirvava. It represents the love, the relationship that we have, that we represent Hashem in this world. That's what the flags represent. Now, in order to reach the flags, Hashem says, count the Jewish people. You need to count the Jewish people in order to have the flags. Now, why is that? We have to understand what the word mispar means. We have to know, like, the sfira, what does that mean? And we also have to understand the concept of order. Like we said, there's two values over here. There is the counting, the numbers, and there's also the order. And when we have both of those, then we have the flag. Now, what does that mean? This is so relevant to our lives. So now, sfira, counting in Hebrew, and we speak about this a lot, how the Hebrew language, the way words are pronounced or the different meanings of the same word, they all really show us the depth of a specific word. So the word mispar, number, actually has different meanings. For example, what are we known as? We're known as the people of the book. We're called Am HaSefer. So the word Sefer is from a very similar word to mispar. Also the word Sipur, which is a story. Also the word Sfar. The city that is by the border is called Ir HaSfar. It's the border city. Also the Sapar, who cuts my hair, is also a very similar word of the Sapar. There's also the word sapphire, sapir. Those are all very similar words. Now, what does it mean? What is the connection between all of them? So the Mefarshim explained to us that all of them, what they have in common is that things are broken up into pieces, and then we see a whole new order because it was broken up into pieces. This is where something ends, and this is where something begins, and now I understand the general picture, right? What's a sefer? A book. What's a sipur? What does that mean? Is the author has a lot of ideas in his head. He breaks it down into letters and into words. So each word is a standalone word, but together it builds a beautiful story that makes me feel something, and it gives me information about things. And I connect to different values through reading that story. So it's broken up into many little pieces, but together it shows me the most beautiful type of masterpiece altogether. Same thing is with the Sfar. The Sfar it's a city in it by itself. But when I have enough cities on the border, so now each city is by itself, but it sort of creates the border for the entire country, right? There's the beginning of something, it's the end of something, but it shows the collective piece. Also, when I cut my hair, I'm getting rid of the excess hair, and I'm saying that's not part of me, but what's left on my head, or at least whatever is left of the hair on our heads, right? When we get a haircut, it's like, okay, this is now the haircut that the lady has, that the person has. It makes him more beautiful because you got rid of the excess, and what's left is very defined and very organized. And that's really what the word number means. A number is that each one is an individual, but yet there is the collectiveness of everything together. And that's what brings us to the second value. There's the numbers, the mispar, but then there is the order. What does order mean? So Rav Dessler brings down that there's 3 types of order in life. And we can all relate to this, especially the ladies out there. We all like order. Now, why do we like order? Why is order so important for us? So order is important for 3 different reasons. Each one overlaps a little bit, but each one is self-standing as well. There's order, which is we want something to look beautiful. We go into our living room. We want it to look nice. We want the couches to be aligned, and we want the picture frame to be standing straight. When things are in order, so then it's aesthetically pleasing. There's the right balance between the yin and yang, between the different things, and we're like, oh, this is nice. We like it when things around us are in order. Also, when you meet somebody, you ask him, manishma. So what does he answer? He says, hakol beseder. Everything is in order. That's what hakol beseder means. Meaning, in a certain way, when do we say that I'm good? We say when everything is in order. Hakol beseder. I have order in my life. Now, it's true that none of us have order in our lives. We just say hakol beseder, hakol lo beseder, but we still say it, right? Because that represents that there is a harmony in my life. Everything is in place. There's the balance between family and work and body and soul, right? That's our ideal, that everything will be hakol beseder. There's an order, there's a harmony, there's beauty in our lives. Then there's another type of order. There's another type of order that you want to know where everything is. And that's why you want things to be in order. It's not necessarily, that's more like the messy husband's office, right? The wife doesn't like it so much because it's too messy. It's not as beautiful. But for him, it's very orderly. He knows where this file is. He knows where that file is. He knows exactly where to find all the different things, right? When I look at my bookshelf with all my shiurim, so to my wife, she's always like, you have to clean that up. It's a little bit of a mess. To me, I'm like, oh, I have this folder and I have that folder. I know exactly where the different things, in my head, I have order because I know where things are. That's another type of order that we need to have. But then there's a third type of order. And this is what Rav Dessler points out, which is the ultimate order for Am Yisrael, which is the order that we need to get the flags, and that's why we're counting the numbers. And he says that's really the order of having things working together, where every single person on the team knows what he's doing, and he knows what is the general goal of the whole team, and he knows what he's not doing, and he knows what other people are doing, and everyone is working harmoniously in order, in synchronization, in order to reach the goal, right? Imagine you have, now the more people you have working on a team, the more chaos there could be. And if there's no order, so then we won't reach our goal. But if we're able to work harmoniously, we're able to reach something that is unbelievable. I mean, you could just imagine an orchestra, for example. Each one plays one piece, one instrument, but they're all working in harmony for one symphony. And when they're playing, I'm quiet. And then when they stop, that's when this beat comes in. And then we're all working together. And then together, there's a beautiful masterpiece that is all conducted under the conductor. And that's really the order that we're talking about in this week's Parsha. That order actually represents all the different beats. It's harmonious, it's beautiful. It helps us find the different things. But ultimately, together, it gives us the ability to reach the highest level of reaching our goal, which is glorifying God's name in this world, which is carrying his flags. And when people see our different flags and they're all working in unison, and you see this unit from the army coming and that unit coming, and this, if you've ever seen like the different parades of the different units, and each one together, there is some sort of harmonious fashion. And this is something that is, I think we could even see right now. Right now, we're during election period, or we just built a government. May it live to full term, right? In here in Eretz Yisrael, it's not so simple. But we built the government. Just to give you an example, the ultimate, we're in the middle of Yemei HaSfira. 2 days ago, we celebrated my daughter's bat mitzvah. Her name is Tiferet. She spoke a little bit about her name, but if we could go a little bit deeper to the midah of Tiferet, right, which is here in the Yemei sphere, which is the center in the Chachmas HaKabbalah. It's sort of like the center of the Malchus of Hashem. Through Tiferet, we glorify Hashem's name, and we're able to reach the Malchus of the Malchus. What is Tiferet? You have Chesed, and you have Din, and together it's Tiferet. So people think that when you have Chesed on one side and Gvura on the other side, which is the Din, so Tiferet is a compromise between the two parts. But it's not that. It's not compromising. A little bit of Chesed with a little bit of Gvura gives me Tiferet. The deeper understanding of what Tiferet means is, and I'll give an example from politics, right? In the Memshala, we have Misrad Habitachon, and we have Misrad Hachutz. The Misrad Habitachon is the Ministry of Defense, and Misrad Hachutz is, how do you say it? It's I don't know. They're in charge of coordinating with other countries. I don't know how you say it in English. You could write it in on the chat if you want to help me out over here. How do you say Misrad Hachutz? So what's so special about these two offices? Now, each one of these offices, and they're both the foreign ministry, thank you so much, the foreign ministry. Each one of these offices, the foreign ministry and the defense ministry, are very, very important. In fact, they're probably the most sought after seats and cabinet members in the government. Now, each one of them has opposing outlooks and views on our relationship with other countries. The foreign ministry, their goal is to assume that every other country wants to be in peace and working relationship with us. And therefore, they're trying to build the relationship, they're trying to build the friendship, they're trying to build the coalitions. That's the foreign ministry. Oh, well, let's do trade, the defense ministry is under the assumption that every single country, even our friends, are trying to attack us, are trying to steal from us, are trying to take away from us, and therefore we need to always be on the first line of defense. And we need to defend, we need to make sure we have all the right security walls, whether it's physically that they might attack us, or maybe it's cyber and information, we're always on defense. Two different opposing views. But then on top of that, there's the head of state, whether it's the president, whether it's the prime minister, whether it's the king, who is always taking both of their accounts into the mindset and deciding what is the ultimate good for the glorification of our nation, of our country, which for the Jewish people always means the glorification of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. In an ideal world, of the example that I'm trying to give out is that I can have the midah of chesed, which is to give unconditionally, and I can have the midah of gvura, which is standing on our values and on our boundaries unconditionally. But then I have the midah of tiferet, which is the orderness and how everything works harmoniously to glorify Hashem's name in this world. That is the order that Rav Dessler speaks about, which is the order of the flags that needs to come through the counting of the Jewish people. And when we count the Jewish people and we organize them in the right flags, that's how when we're able to glorify Hashem's name. And that's really what we need to internalize now that we're coming back to our shuls, now that we are slowly getting out of our quarantine, and each and every one of us had plenty of time to be by himself and to think about himself and about his uniqueness. This is really our time period to go back out and to create synergy, order, and understand how each one in his uniqueness can actually help glorify God's name. And that is the counting that we're doing in this week's Parsha. Right? The Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us, Keshem shepartzufeim, Keshem she'ein partzufeim, domim kach deoseim shonos. Just like our faces are different, so too our hashkafa, our mindset, our outlooks on life are different. The Kutzker says, I never get insulted by somebody else just because he looks different than me. So I walk on the street and I see somebody who looks different than me. Do I ever get insulted by that? So why do I get so insulted if somebody has a different opinion than me? He says, the Gemara says, if they look different, so their hashkafa is different. And it's okay to have a different of hashkafa. Adarabba, our avoda is to bring it all together. Each and every one of us brings a uniqueness to Am Yisrael that nobody else brings. And therefore, we have two jobs that need to be done. Number one is to, when you're cleaning a diamond, so you have to brush it, you have to clean it, you have to sharpen it so that it'll be a shining diamond. Our first avoda is to glorify our own diamonds. What is it that I bring to the Jewish people that is unique? What is my midah? What is my essence? I'm a diamond. What am I bringing to the Jewish people? That's number one. And then number two, how could my diamond work together with the rest of my family, of my community, the rest of Am Yisrael to glorify God's name? That is really our avodah. And that's the dual avodah that we have. That's what the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, that each and every person has his time. Every single Jew has his moment. Every single Jew is a gem. Every single Jew counts. We count him. He counts. He makes sofrim otcha. One of the hardest things for high school kids when they join a big high school, he might feel lo sofrim oti. It's the slang. No one is counting me. I don't count. No, you count. You matter. We're counting you. You're special. That's the first shlav of understanding that I'm special, that I'm unique. You have your unique time period. And that's what the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says. Im ein anili, mili. If I'm not for myself, so who will be for me? The Sfas Emes says it doesn't matter how old a person is or how young a person is. If a person is here, he counts, he's needed, and if he doesn't live up to his job, im ein anili, mili. Nobody else is going to do the job for me. There's something unique that I bring to the Jewish people. There's something unique that I bring to my family, that I bring to my community, that I bring to the world that nobody else brings. That's the second part. If I take my uniqueness, even if a person became a big gadol, but he's only la'atzmi, he's only to himself. He's not part of the community. He's not part of Am Yisrael. He's not trying to be a part of the rest of Am Yisrael and glorifying Hashem's name in this world. So then I'm nothing. If I'm only doing it for myself, so then that's the dual relationship that we have. That is the counting that we're talking about in this week's Parsha. That we need to count, and this is what we mentioned on Monday, that there is two different types of counting in our lives. There is the counting of a quantity. How much do I have? Do I have a lot of money? And then there is the counting of quality, where you're brushing off the silver that you have in the break front. You're counting your jewelry in your jewelry box. So each one is important. You're counting it. It's not the number. It's the quality of each one. That's what we said, that the Haftorah, it's not just the Haftorah, already the promise of Avram Avinu. Hashem promises to Avram Avinu, I'm going to give you a bracha, kivarecha varechecha v'haya zaracha kikochavei hashamayim ukechol asher al sfas hayam. It's two different unique promises that the Jewish people are going to be like the sand, and we're going to be like the stars. Now, why is it like the sand? Why is it like the stars? That's what we spoke about. The sand, each kernel is not important. The uniqueness of the sand is actually when we're all together. So it's finding my chelek, how is it a part of the rest of Am Yisrael? But then there is the star. We're counted like the stars because each star is unique. You are a rising star. You're a kochav nolad. You are a unique person. You're your own planet. That's what it says. Kulam shemot ikra, anoten mispar lakochavim, kulam b'shemot ikra. He counts them all by name. And that's what it says in this week's Parsha. You should count the Jewish people b'mispar shemot. You're counting each and every Jew. But you're also, and each and every Jew counts, but you're also viewing all the grains of sand, and you're collecting them all together. You're collecting them all together to show that we are unique. We're all one piece. And that's really our avodah. Our job is to recognize that each and every one of us is a shining star in it of him. In him, he himself, or each and every one of us, we're stars. We're unique. We bring something, we have a name. Our name means, a lot of times, it's our essence. What is my tafkid in this world? right? So that's our name, that's our uniqueness, and this is our relationship with counting. Do we count people or do we not count people? Are we pro counting or are we not pro counting? So if we're counting people by numbers, so then there's Ein Hara. Why is that? Because like we said, counting means that you are dividing, you're separating. Each one stands by himself. So if we're counting people just as numbers, it's Ein Hara, and it can bring a Magefa. Because what that means is that you're separating each one from Am Yisrael, and you're only counting each one as an individual. And that's why we don't count by numbers. How do we count? We count with a half a shekel. We count collectively that each one is bringing himself to the overall general pot, and together we're going to glorify God's name. In fact, from our united half a shekel, from $1 a person, we could have enough money in the Jewish world to build the Beis HaMikdash. Every person gives $1. Together, we've collected $16 million. It's enough to start the building of the Beis HaMikdash. And that's how we built the base of the Mishkan. Of course, there's potential for each person to give his own nidva slave, but at the end of the day, every Jew is a part of it. We can only build the Mishkan if every single Jew gives his half a shekel. And that's how we count. Lift every single Jew, say, you are important, you are needed. Only collectively can we bring the change. When we count in a way that we're all united, that's when we glorify Hashem's name. That's when there is the order that we could each and every one of us have the right flag, the right way to glorify Hashem's name. And that's exactly the counting of the sand. You see the sand, the grains of sand that we have, the little, each piece is not important, but when you look at it, you're like, it's one unit. You don't actually say, wow, when you look at the stars, you're like, yo, it's thousands of stars. When you look at the sand, you don't say it's millions of grains. You say, what a beautiful beach. It's one unit. You view everything as one unit, and that's really our job. Our job this entire time period was to fine-tune our own unique number. I count. I'm unique. And then to see like a book. The people of the book doesn't just mean that we read a lot and that we study a lot. It means that we're just like we're a mispar, we are a sefer. We are a story. We are a sipur. Each and every story is made up of different letters. The letters form up words. The words form up sentences. And the sentences make paragraphs in a story, and a fascinating story of the Jewish people. Who we are is the story of the Jewish people. When we look at our story, it's a story of many different individuals, but collectively, it's the Jewish history. So the story and we're fascinated by individual stories. We're fascinated by world history and by Jewish history, but what excites us about it is the documentary about that person. What was exciting for me was seeing Yerushalayim from the eyes of my father, who was a young boy during the 6-Day War. That's what's fascinating about it. It's the story of the individual, how it paints the picture of the collective Jewish people. And each individual becomes a part of his family. And each family becomes a part of the tribe. And each tribe has his own flag with his own unique mission, with his own color. And there are other tribes in Am Yisrael. And it means that not every tribe has the same color. Not every tribe has the same flag. Not every tribe has the same mission. But when they all work together, that's what glorifies Hashem's name. And that's really our job. Yes, the Jewish people, we don't all wear the same colored shirts. We don't all have the same hashkafa. We don't all necessarily agree on everything. However, if we're working with other people that are l'shem shamayim, and we get people to work, how can we glorify God's name in this world? How can we make this world a better place? How can we have a better society? How can we add more values? And there are differences of opinion, but yet they're all willing to work together in order to reach the same goal of glorifying God's name. That's what Am Yisrael desired when they saw the angels carrying those flags. The reason why this is called the Book of Numbers is because the numbers represent that balance of our uniqueness as individuals, but also our collective power when each and every unique individual comes together to glorify God's name. The reason why we need to count right now is because in order to have the flags, we need to have the counting and we need to have the order. The counting allows us to put things into order and to understand how each and every piece brings us to the Tiferet, brings us to the glory of Hashem, that it's not that it's contradictory and each and every one of us needs to compromise on our mahalach, but how together, and that's really what the president does, that's what the melech does, that's what Hashem leads us in how to do it, is together we're able to weigh in, when do we use chesed, when do we use gvura, and that comes to the Tiferet. Tiferet of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's Tiferet Medinat Israel. There's also Tiferet Ugdula. Lecha Hashem Agdula ve'Agvura ve'Tiferet ve'Netzach ve'Ahod. It's reaching the different levels until we reach Malchus Sheba Malchus, which is the process that we're working our way towards. And that's why it can only come, we can only receive the Torah once we were Ke'ish Echad, the Lev Echad, when we were one united people. And once we received the Torah, and that Torah was put into the Mishkan, into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, only then that we have something to unite around and to gather around, and that we received because we were united. Now Hashem says, I'm ready to count you. I'm ready to put you into the right formation of the flags, and now you're ready to go into the land of Eretz Yisrael. And this is really our job. If we're waiting for that final steps of Mashiach, Hashem says each and every one of us is going to go into their own homes and realize what's unique about them and about their family and what values really stand out for them. And now I'm going to put you back into your shuls, and now I'm going to bring you back slowly into your communities, but as better people, as people who understand, if I'm not for myself, nobody will be there for me. But if I'm only there for myself, so then ma'ani, so then what am I? I am needed as an individual, but I'm also needed to be part of the collective whole. And I think this is really our job. This is our inspiration for this time period leading up to Matan Torah. If we're able to, whether we'll physically be back in shul by the time Shavuot comes or not, that's not the story. The story is the mindset. Are we ready to be the people of the book, the people that unite into one cohesive story, the people that are able to carry the flag, which represents the kingdom of Hashem in this world? If we're able to do that, I believe we'll be zocha to reach the Shavuos, another Maimed Har Sinai, the standing, the glorification of Hashem, and seeing Hashem and seeing the building of Mashiach Tzidkenu, Bimher B'Ameinu. Amen. Thank you guys so much for being with us today.